and welcome to our pacing show this week of Racing, Pacing and Chasing, episode 12. I'm Aaron Bain and joined by my co-host this week, Rocky Butterworth. Welcome, Rocky.
Thanks, mate. Good to have you back after swanning around Mildura last week.
You did on your own last week. What was going on there?
Claire was off preparing for an interview with Lizzie for the equestrian and rehoming side of it, and I decided just to go solo.
I heard you pushed Claire aside and said, I got it this week. You don't
might have happened.
You don't know anything about pacing. It's my show.
No, you're trying to deflect here, mate. You nicked off last week to Mildura. Yeah. Got your first winner since
2003, yeah.
And then you got another one at Globe on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I just want to show the viewers, we've got you back home at Gawler after you dropped off God of Thunder and put him away and gave him a feed. We've got you dancing around at Gawler. Two winners.
Now there's CCTV footage at home, but not for this purpose, all right?
It is fantastic, so I'm looking forward to people actually seeing you dancing around at the stables after two wins.
2 wins in 25 weeks.
Yeah. How many of those are mine?
Yeah, none.
None. Yeah, that's good.
I've got one in the wings for you this week, mate.
Anyway.
I got a bit. So we're gonna, have you showed the footage yet, or you still want it?
No, we'll have a look now. We'll have a look at Aaron dancing here, and it's good vision. He's a good dancer, and imagine if he gets another one next week. Look forward to that.
Right now, I just need you to get real loose. Get comfortable. Grab your loved ones, or grab your love partner. Then cowboy boogie. Grab your sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down. Take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your head finish. It's simple, you can do it. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Now cool down, have a good time. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Do the butterfly, have a good time round, round. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your head finish. That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart.
Jeez, if I get another one next week, I might even do it live on the show. No, I better not say that.
No.
That won't be
good. And you're naked enough in that one, mate. Taking it any further.
Anyway, but no, it was a good week, but yep. I put it down to that I wasn't actually on the show that week, so I hadn't trained a winner since I'd started the show. So I put it down to it was my week off, so that's why. But no, they were both good winners, so Alcatraz Lass and God of Thunder. But local harness racing news, let's jump straight into it.
Yep.
Gawler Harness Racing Club, so hasn't been officially announced yet, but we're going to announce it. I got a text message from my father, the president of the Gawler Harness Racing Club last night, and he was very cheerful about it. The land management agreement has been lifted at the
Gawler Harness Racing. Do you want to explain what that means, mate?
Yeah, so there was and we'll get that on the show next week at the Gawler Jockey Club to probably go in more depth. I'll try and explain it as best I can, but obviously there was a land management agreement just which prevented regular race meetings at the Gawler Harness Racing Club, and there were just some hurdles they had to jump to get that lifted, and then have basically not a free for all, but have free use of that land. So there were conditions in place on the way they use that land that has been lifted by the council by the mayor, Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, that's excellent.
That was a unanimous decision, and that was the second or third time they've been to council, and even you could read the jubilation in Dad's text message, and I'm sure when he comes on the show next week, he doesn't know he's coming on yet, but he will when he watches this show this week. He'll look forward. It was a proud achievement for him, and probably also the club as well.
It's taken a long time, mate.
Yeah, it has, and they've got the one barn in. That hopefully some of this other funding might bring another barn, and I reckon we'll see racing at Gawler at the Harness Racing Club in the very, very near future.
Fantastic.
So certainly looking forward to that. But suppose in other racing news, but close to my heart at the moment, the frustration of the free-for-all trot falling over again this week, but been disappointing. Mate, we've lost 3 of the last 4 program free-for-all trot races.
There's 2 things there for me with the trots falling over, and one is as little as 2 years ago, the trots were big fields. They were always guaranteed that you could fill trots maybe to a meeting. Now our open class, we're struggling to get 5 nominations, and you've got a horse that and you're not the only one, but you've got a horse in really good form at the moment that stays home in the barn more than it should because you can't get a runner now. You're taking it into state to get a start.
It's not aimed at, I was talking to David Smith about this through the week, and he's got two nice trotters at the moment in the Page Boy and Kano Imogen. It's disappointing that they won't run that free-for-all trot with 6 horses encouraged. And I was talking to him about this, and it's close to my heart at the moment because we've got a nice little trot in the stable, we've got a thunder. But I think, my suggestion for it is just without fail each week, and they often program a $7,000 free-for-all trot race each week. That's $28,000 in prize money. Without fail each month, run 3 $8,000 trots, run 3 $8,000 free-for-allers for the month. On the other week, run a $4,500 one, right? That's the same money, but people see $8,000 trot races.
Well, Victorian people, for a start, will start sending horses back over.
You see this week the free-for-all, the Vet Surgeon's Cup.
Yep.
There's an $8,000 free-for-all. There was enough nearly to have a full field of 11 and then enough for 7 or 8 others, right?
Yep.
So they could have run another supplementary free-for-all, even for 4.5 for consolation to it. That's the first time in a while the Vet Surgeon's Cup's been that strong. And it is a very good race. There's a number of chances in there. But run that week in, week out. There was a time we've struggled with, numbers in that free-for-all rank. Encourage better horses to this state, right? And if we can commit that there's going to be an $8,000 race, a bit like Tassie are doing with the trotters. They did it with 5. Then they did it, but they juggled the prize money. They've got 7 and 8 horses now, time to time. But those same horses are going because they are committed to racing for 8,000 for 5 or 6 horses.
Yeah.
You've got a nice little group of trotters here. I know you've got the other trot series on at the moment for that 30 plus rating, but encourage the top line horses that are going to attract the better horses.
The other thing is, mate, and we've done a bit of research with that turnover on trot races is actually getting up there and over and above pacing races. So people like betting on the trots. I know I do, because you can have your wide trifectas because there's a fair chance there'll be a galloper in the field, and maybe it might be the odds on favour that everyone stood out. So you can make some money on the trots, and with that turnover, if we're serious about what we're doing and want to get turnover up out there, and that's probably their only source of income at the moment, then they've got to do things like what you're saying. And
like the free-for-all trot was only 5 on Saturday night. It was going to be 6, and they ran it for 4.5. So credit, they still put the race on. But this week they haven't run it with 6. There was 6 in the noms, and David Smith and myself, we're going to stall obviously on Sunday for the Stall Trotters Cup. And that's 6 hours away. And I've made plans that God of Thunder, he's staying in Melbourne for a month. So that puts the free-for-all trot race at one less until some of those others in that lower grade come out after this series. But while that series is on, it's always going to be tough for the free-for-all. So I just hope new board appointments, and obviously there's a new trainers association out there as well. But we're only talking about one subject here with the trotters. There's certainly paces, young horses, 3-year-olds are a big contentious issue. We talked about that with Ryan on the show last week. So there's a number of topics here that there's plenty of opportunity if done right, and think outside the square, don't think the norm. So don't get me wrong, it's across the board. I saw a funny one on Twitter today. Michael Stanley put up a post, I'm not sure if you saw it. HRV are programming the first 2-year-old race of the season next week, and it was restricted to horses that have not won a race this season. It's the first 2-year-old race of the season in Australia. So it's everywhere, we've just got to think smarter.
We do.
And that looks silly in itself, but there's opportunity out there. It just gets a bit frustrating, that's all I say. So let's get on to some positive talk. The Inter-Dominion starts on Friday night. And we talk about trotters. There's more trotters left in the series than there is paces. And that could well come Friday night. I think fields are out obviously today, but only 2 heats in both. Could be down to 2 heats.
Mate, I don't mind that. As I said, I think it creates turnover. I think traditionally heats have been won by odds-on favourites regularly. Punters get a little bit bored with it. There should be 2 or 4 even heats across the 2 weeks, and I think it's there's nothing wrong with it. You like to see 3, there's not enough. 2 will create a whole lot more interest, I reckon. You got a tip for the pace of the trotters this far out? No.
All right, I'll stay. I'll go the way of Cruz Bromack in the paces. I think he's just hit his straps nicely. And then I'll probably go the way of a Big Jack Hammer. I'm going to stick with Dominic for the owner of God of Thunder, but Big Jack Hammer, hopefully they, I see they've even got shirts made up, so they're going to New Zealand in a big way, the team, so all the best to them. But let's get into our segments now. 3 wide, no cover. 3 wide no cover thanks to Garrard Horse Products. So they've recently come on board as well, and not right tipping one of your owners a 3 wide no cover, but anyway, I'll leave it to you.
I was out looking, we're talking about, it is one of mine with you, Aaron, but she had her first start for us from New Zealand last week. You've been patient, we've been patient as owners. Had no luck, it was back to last at the top of the straight at Globe Derby on Saturday and sprinted sharply up the sprint lane, we've got to say, and she's drawn 3 in the final this week, and you've declared it, which is great.
I haven't declared it. Look at, never declare it. Never declare it.
But we'll have a look at last week's run. She's 3 back on the fence, effectively back to last in the corner, and she sprints up the lane very well.
And for leader, flashing good time. 3 back is eyes down and looking. White Star Steffi in a nice position, 1 out, 1 back. Now angles off 3 wide. Then we go back to Scenic Rise, who latches onto his back. Back behind those, Midnight Prowler, Illawong Jerry and Steinman at the tail. Down the back, it's still Alexander Greenwood here by 4 metres. White Star Steffi is making ground. Back on the inside, flashing good time. Around the outside comes Midnight Prowler, who starts to chime into the race. Then in turn behind those, we have Steinman trying to improve. Eyes down and looking back on the inside. Up front, Midnight Prowler takes over now from Alexander Greenwood, White Star Steffi. Down the outside comes Steinman. It's Midnight Prowler by 4 metres. Steinman is trying hard down the outside, but Midnight Prowler gets up to beat either Steinman or Eyes Down and Looking in a photo.
You know, very pleased with her run there, Rocky, and we spoke about it, you know, she sort of only got down the last 50, 60 metres and hit the line, so Wayne elected to stay with her over the other heat winner in Bubbles and Cheese, one of the other heat winners. There was 3 heats. It's certainly a competitive race. Certainly there's a number of chances. Big field, $10,000 spring challenge. We sort of set her for it 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you know, she comes through a trial well first up run, and we're looking forward to Saturday night. I probably see her as the leader, and you know, she's going to get every chance. So yeah, see how we go. But next segment, In the Money. Righto, Rock, In the Money, you've let me down again. This is sponsored by Fluoro Milk, Clay Mods and Kimmy K. I was on the phone to you last night actually, after your other engagements at football, but I said, can you do me one favour, and for the 12th week in a row, remember to bring the Fluoro Milk, and you did not. So you got one show next week.
There is guaranteed that it will be at Gawler next week.
That is on record and will be played back to you on the show if it isn't. Okay?
Done.
All right. Okay. What have you found this week for the In the Money?
This was a pretty good one as well. It led Regal Lager, we're talking about it. It led in its race, but they took it on.
Very impressive, I thought.
Yeah,
very impressive.
It was. They've come home in 58.7, and it did have not super harassment during the race, but enough to, you know, sort of give the horse a bit of grief on the outside. We watched it and we thought it was gone at the top of the straight, and it was going to get...
It was headed at the 700, like 6.
Yeah, and it's fought back really well, and it can come from back in the field as well. It's not a one-trick pony, it doesn't have to lead. So yeah, I think it's a good chance to just keep winning these type of races.
It seems to be the harder you drive it off the gate and the more forward you get it, the harder it finishes off. Like
that's right.
It deserved to win. It had no right to win, I should have said, and it was still coming. As you said, looks gone and wins. So let's take a look at the final 200 metres. Probably gets headed here at the top of the straight, kicks back and wins.
Black Warrior under pressure, Canada Bay. He's hasn't gone full steam at the moment. Lovable Larrikin angles down to the inside to follow through and go for a sprint lane win. And then behind those, Assassinator. Regal Lager's trying to hold them all at bay, but here comes Lovable Larrikin and Black Warrior and Canada Bay. Big finish. He's still kicking Regal Lager. He's still in front. He held him off. Regal Lager beat Lovable Larrikin, third Black Warrior and Canada Bay. Behind those, we had Assassinator.
You can see Ryan Horrocks getting the best out of that horse over the concluding stages, and that horse does lift for him. Ryan's got a good relationship with him, so looking forward to watching him go around over the coming weeks, but or coming into the summer as well. Let's go to now to the Drive of the Week. Righto, Drive of the Week, thanks to the Kapunda Harness Racing Club, and they've been great supporters jumping on board, but your 3 votes this week, Rocky.
Again, it was tough. There were a lot of the races were were leader orientated and not much came from back in the field. But I've given 3 votes to Jake. It seems like an Aaron Bain segment this week, but Lil Irene's a leader and then slows down, and Jake took the initiative and went around and took the front himself and just rolled along well enough to keep the good horses under that bit more pressure than they wanted to. And then he took off at the 600, not flat out, but just increased the tempo enough to make those horses chase again. And in the last 80 they'd had enough, so I gave Jake 3 votes for his drive on Got a Thunder.
2 votes, Anthony Robertson.
Yeah, similar to Jake's drive, he found the top on his horse, Blissful Thinking. Kept them running solid quarters, and the horses behind probably left it way too late to get out after him. Then they were 4 and 5 wide doing the chasing when he was at top speed. So I gave 2 votes to Robbo there.
And 1 vote, Wayne Hill.
Yeah, that was Wayne does this regularly. He found the death and sat outside the leader, but instead of the leader controlling the race, I reckon Wayne did on his in the death and just ran it to suit himself and didn't have the horse under any kind of pressure, and was able to find the line up the straight. So
I think you're right. There was no standout drives for the week. There was certainly some good tactical drives, and all 3 of those deserve it. And hopefully Wayne this week's 3 votes for your horse would be nice. But he did win well there on Bubbles and Cheese. But now trial file. Righto, Rock, trial file, and there's probably none more impressive than this for some time, and I know Ryan's very buoyant about this horse. Wipinga Lad, he was very impressive at Gawler on Sunday, and I didn't go to the Gawler trials, I slept in for a change actually, but I went over and saw Ryan before he left. Slept in, had a sleep in, first time since 2003 also. Mate, that dance wore me out, dancing, but he said, wow, and he obviously qualified behind the stand. I know the owners want him to go to Wayville in a few weeks. Ryan's trying to hold off on that thought. He's got a very big opinion of this horse. But
very good.
Runs half in 56.1, mile rate of 157.7 over the 2,070 metres from the stand. That was his last mile. It was pretty handy run. He talked to Wayne later in the day about trials, and I said, what came out of the trials? He said there was only 1 very impressive runner, and that was Wipinga Lad. So it's nominated for Monday in a stand as well. Got away from the tapes pretty good, led up. Shadow Control was in the trial. He was a quick beginner and he held him out comfortably. So, I think that's one to follow. We'll be winning next up, Wipinga Lad. So, all right, we've got a special guest now for the pacing segment. Brody Webster will join us. So we look forward to interviewing Brody as he heads to New Zealand next week to compete in the Australasian Young Drivers Championship. It's been a pleasure, as always, to join you in the pacing segment, Rocky. Look forward to next week, hopefully bringing you a winner for the first time since 1983. And we'll be joined next week by Peter Bain, Shane Collins and Sean Nowak at the Gawler Jockey Club. Really looking forward to that. And I think we're just going to sit back on a panel of 5 and just talk all things racing and Gawler. Really looking forward to that segment. Good. So thanks for joining us this week on the pacing segment, racing, pacing and chasing. Stay around for the interview with Brody Webster, and short after that we'll have the chasing segment. Thanks, guys. And welcome back to the pacing segment. Our special guest on tonight's show of Racing, Pacing, Chasing. We're joined by Brody Webster. Welcome, Brody.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure. And reason you come in tonight, you are about to jet off this time next week. You'll be on a plane to New Zealand to represent South Australia in the 2019 Australasian Young Drivers Championship. And what a thrill, not only for yourself, but it's going to be a great experience.
Yeah, fantastic, and just honoured to have the privilege to be able to go and represent SA. And I just hope we can do us proud and get a win over there, or at least have some bit of fun and do the representation justice.
And I reckon one of the last ones to go to New Zealand, in fact the last one to go was your brother Jake to New Zealand when last time the series was held there. So quite a good honour for the family as well. Yeah,
it's awesome. I remember Jake telling me early days when I got my licence that if you were lucky enough to go on a drivers' championship, if you got New Zealand, you'd have a ball of fun. So I'm very excited.
We'll go through the program and we'll get there in a minute. But yourself, you've had 710 drives in your short career to date. Only sort of driven 6 seasons. 62 winners, 161 places. You're certainly right amongst it. And probably, we've been saying on the show in recent weeks, you've been scoring well in the actually drive of the weeks, because I reckon you're driving Port Pirie as well as you've ever driven it. And I think you're probably driving in career best form, we'd say, certainly on the show, and no better time to go to New Zealand for the series.
Yeah, I think that at the end of last season and coming into this season, I probably am, like you say, driving as good as I have and probably as good as I can. I struggle a little bit just because I can only drive one time a week, so you get limited time to be out on the track and constantly, getting better at your craft and stuff like that. But hopefully I can carry in a bit of form into New Zealand.
Yeah, and you're having some good success up at Port Pirie. That's been a good track for you as well. You don't want to travel a bit when you can?
Yeah, when I can, and I say every time I get an interview how grateful I am for the Tatulis and stuff like that are up there and Dale Appert and stuff like that put me on, and generally they have horses that are around the mark, like your Toss-Ups and of course Great Maverick that's been in good form lately, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier when you can drive horses that are, anywhere from $2 to $6 sort of thing on the tote. It gives you a good chance to get a winner.
And we talk about you say only when you get a chance, because you are trying to balance the driving with your study in your last year, or moving into your last year of veterinary science. And that's been certainly very time consuming for yourself, but very rewarding at the same time. So you're soon going to have to make a decision, I suppose, whether it's driving. Yeah. We won't talk about that before the series, we'll leave that. There'll come a time where you're going to get very busy with your career, but just tell us a bit about that juggling act now.
Yeah, look, it's very tricky. I mean, the hours that they demand at you at vet school are unreal. I was just talking to a med student the other day and he couldn't believe the exams we had to sit and the hours that we do at the campus. So trying to do that with horses is great because, how good would it be to be able to be a driver and be a vet? But you're 100% right, it sort of is one or the other. You can't be good at both things, unfortunately. So at the moment I'm getting through, but I'm heading into final year. Yeah. And that gets proper busy. So.
And we're going to talk about that the other day on the track. You've got to be on call next year at some stage, and you can't be a certain distance away from the clinic at Rosewoody. So
every second week you've got to be within 10 k's of the clinic all weekend. So heading to Port Pirie might be out of the question.
That's right. Get a plane back quickly. But just talking a little bit about your vet before we go into the Australasian Young Drivers Championship. But you're doing a fair bit of work experience at the moment with two very good vets in Toby Ryan and Dr. Dan Sims as well. So Toby's very renowned in the harness racing industry, and obviously Dan Sims tied up his own business, Equus Veterinary Services, and tied up with McAvoy Mitchell. So you're getting great exposure there at a young age.
Yeah, and they're both great mentors. I mean, I'm getting closer and closer with Dan as I progress through my career, and partly because I was lucky enough to head over to Newmarket, as you know, a few months ago.
And he's only a young vet himself as well. Yeah.
Exactly, he's only a few years older than me, and he went to Newmarket and got a taste of really what being a racehorse vet's all about. And to come back here and share that experience and get his knowledge and stuff like that's awesome. And like you say, I'm spending some good time with them, and then Toby, who's doing all the trotters and the paces, which is what I've grown up with, and it's great to spend time with him too.
And when did you make that decision, like what stage in your life that you wanted to be a vet? I know your brother, and we'll pot him on the show, but I know he wanted to, but was never smart enough. We'll say that.
Definitely not smart enough from what I've seen, trust me.
So when did you go, I'll put my hand up on behalf of the family, I'll be the successful one?
Yeah, look,
That's not saying he's not. No, we'll stir him up on the show.
He's doing good. Yeah. But no, look, you're 100% right. So when I was younger, Dad and Mum had worked their bums off to send us to a good school, and in return to that, we sort of just wanted to, they just wanted us to have a good job and stuff like that and a good life. But as you know, it's a lot of hardship in trotting, and the rule was that you can do as much as you want with trots, but you just have to try and get a job that will pay the bills week after week after week. Yeah. And when I was younger, I wasn't that into the horses when I was young. It took me sort of till I was probably 15 to really actually enjoy driving horses. I was more interested in driving tractors and motorbikes and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's when I thought, well, hang on, what sort of combines both of them to continue the horses, which is, in the blood and love it. And then, like you say, have a reliable income that will pay the bill. So that was the answer.
And it's been very strong in your family background, the horse background for many years. Yeah. So, we had Jake on our first episode. We're 12 episodes in, and we've got yourself now. So maybe just recap briefly.
Don't talk about that episode. I drove one terrible after that.
We're trying not to jinx it anyway. Maybe just the brief family background of how you got in, because the Webster name's so synonymous with not only probably racing but horses in general.
Yeah, briefly. So Dickie's obviously my grandpa, and Dad trained with Jeffrey for a long time, and they had their stable out at Angevale for a fair while, beginning at Clemsing and moved out there. And then unfortunately when Sam passed away, Jeffrey sort of understandably had to get out of SA for a little while and sort of get away from it all, so he went there, and Dad had a good break. So we had nothing to do with horses for a long time. I remember Jake was out jogging horses with Ray Fewings and Bronte Giorgio when he had his junior driver claim. And then after that, we obviously teamed up with you out at Gawler, and then backed off to a smaller team, just mucking around with a few at home. We've got a treadmill, head down to the beach when we can, and then head to the track as well, and just sort of juggle it between the three of us. It's been good fun so far. So.
And you got a new one for the stable stepping out this week, so the horse obviously under your brother's name, but there's a new one.
We have
this
West Star
week.
Stand, drawn the fence, so the pressure's on for Jake, but you know, he should go alright, so hopefully we can have some fun.
First up from New Zealand, so and he's building you're both building a good little team there. So
we are. It's good fun.
Certainly some fun to be had. But let's talk a little bit about the Australasian Young Drivers Championship. So you fly out Thursday the 5th of December. You're gone for all of sort of 9 days, and you know, with that, so on the 7th you have your first drive at Addington, which will be an amazing experience, and no doubt you're looking forward to getting there. Then on the 8th you drive at Mount Hutt Raceway. Methison, sorry the pronunciation there.
I'll let you do the pronunciation.
Then on the 10th we go to Manawatu.
Grass track
there. On the 11th, I like this one, rest day, because
well required, I think.
Well required.
After race activities,
there'll be a few of these. I've been on one myself in Sydney, and they're wild, to say the least. But you're back up then again at Manawatu on the 12th, Auckland on the 13th. Amazing looking.
I'm very excited to drive there.
Yeah, Alexandra Park, and then on the 14th, that's the night of the Inter-Dominion final, and you just you get to enjoy the night and probably have a few more beverages and sit back and watch the very best.
And take it in and see the good horses.
The very best of Australasia go around, and you're going to see the likes of Mark Purden and Natalie Rasmussen, the All-Stars team go up close, and probably throughout your trip you'll probably get to visit their facility.
It's good to see their stable. That's right. Yeah.
That'll be an amazing experience. So. That's you've got a busy week coming up, busy period coming up there, and I'm no doubt looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait as well, and like I say, I'm just grateful that I got to go. So hopefully we have some fun.
Hopefully do better than your brother.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. He's been on a few though. So
he did try and claim that he beat Dexter Dunn in the series.
He did. I didn't see the races though. So how do you know?
But anyway, what out of that Addington or Auckland, where are you looking to drive? Most looking forward to driving.
Probably Auckland. Addington will be fantastic, but just Auckland, because I think the hype will be there. You know what I mean? It's the night before the Inter-Dominion, and then just experiencing the Inter-Dominion at a track like that with the crowds that they're expected to get, I think will be exciting as well.
And your HRA announced today that the first Australian young driver home will represent Australia in the Young Drivers Championship in Sweden. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in Sweden I think it's called the Golden Watch or something like that, which is their junior driver equivalent. And in 2020, it's in December I think it is, or something like that. Whoever comes, highest on the leaderboard for Australians.
So you can run fourth because there's 3 Kiwis.
There's 3 Kiwis, so an Aussie can still run fourth with 3 Kiwis ahead of him, and get the opportunity to go over to Savala and race over there, which. I've been there. It's an amazing track, so that'd be awesome. No, certainly plenty of more beers and food over there. But anyway, let's go through. Before you go, we can't let you get away without the 10 questions in 60 seconds. So quick answers. Best horse seen? Blacks are fake.
Best horse trainer? We'll include that with your brother as well.
Yeah, Gallifrey Mystique.
Yeah.
So.
Best trainer seen?
I like Jeffrey. I like Jeff.
Yeah. Best driver seen?
Best driver, Gav Lane.
Hardest driver driven against?
Oh, that's tricky. That's either Jake when you're running 9, and he's trying to get home. But NSA horse drivers that I drive with every week, probably Rozzy, Ryan Horry.
Yeah. Biggest race you've won?
I haven't won anything other than a $7,000 race, so that doesn't count.
Race you most want to win?
SA Cup, for sure.
Best track driven on?
Melbourne.
Why?
Just the banking on the turns and stuff like that. We haven't got anything like that in SA.
And we asked your brother this, gloves, yes or no?
No way in hell would I wear gloves.
Not allowed to now?
Not allowed to.
Anyway, no, Brodie, thanks for joining us tonight, and certainly all the best over in New Zealand as you represent South Australia. Fly the flag for us and try and do what some of us haven't done for many years, and that is win the series.
That'd be unreal. Hopefully we can. Thanks for having me.
All the best, mate.
Cheers.
And we'll be back with the chasing segment shortly after the break.